and just
open up everything.
Look at Black's attacking pieces.
Fantastic.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. And White, good defender. What's this guy doing?
And the threat is rook a4. Remember you were saying, yes, or why did he put his rook on a8? That same rook is not only threatening rook a4, it's also threatening the rook a3 move, as you mentioned. So a magnificently placed rook. Everything coordinated with the attack. White's king is under tremendous fire, while Black's king is just sitting pretty. Magnus in deep trouble right now.
Let me just say, let me get this in right here, right now. Who did we pick? Who were our favorites? I believe I was going for Wesley. Who did you guys pick?
I love it. I love it when people pick their moments. Pick just the right moment to say something.
Now's the time.
Now's the time to throw that in there.
Right. Well, it may not be the case in the next 5 minutes, like if something goes wrong for Wesley. But right now, Magnus has been outplayed.
Not to mention that there are 4 more rounds to go after this, by the way. It's a little early to be picking, to be bragging about winners.
And we do have it.
We do have a move.
5 on the board.
Magnus is in serious trouble. This is dire straits. The knight is not only hitting the C pawn, it's also hitting the F pawn as well. Not that he wants to take it.
Yeah, I didn't. I remember when Magnus played against Fabi, that amazing move. Queen takes A7.
Yes.
He had played the move Queen F2, attacking the pawn on H4, and then he took the pawn on A7. I'm playing Knight E5 to take the pawn on C4. But yes, Maurice, you're absolutely right. That F3 pawn's juicy too.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, because if Black gets that guy, he's got a passer that's got something to say. And by the way, they're going right for our line with Knight A4, and we looked at this move Knight C4. Honestly, I didn't see a move. I mean, I just don't see a move for Magnus right here after Knight takes C4. And Wesley's looking at that and saying, what has he got? What are we missing?
There is one.
Please.
No, I was looking for Knight D3 and E5 to show up somehow. What would it take?
D3,
Knight C4, Knight D3. Knight D3 at least defends the B2 square to eliminate the Rook A4 threat. Then your B5 comes. I don't have any Knight C5 ideas. And if I play Knight C3, you play Rook takes A3, and just one moment do I have a move. E5 doesn't do it though.
Why not?
E5 takes. Oh yeah, maybe there's an idea here. E5, I can take on E5.
Exactly. Right. Because I can't take, my rook is hanging and I have to go back with my rook. Still looks good for Black. What, use a pawn up? And
no, but Knight C4 is hitting the pawn on H7 if you take with the bishop.
Okay, I've got to give up that pawn on H7. I don't want to mess up my...
Okay, at least it's
still
even material.
By the way, Knight C4 is on the board, so we're way ahead of the players. They have achieved our kind of starting position, and I'm looking at Magnus. By the way, I am terrible at reading Magnus. Every time I see him, I think he's got California cool, and I don't know if he's winning or losing. How do you guys, judging from the camera shot, how do you read his?
Typical Magnus. You're right. It's absolutely typical Magnus. That's just exactly how he usually is. And right now, we don't really know what he's feeling. Although we know what he's feeling, we don't see what he's feeling because he thinks this is terrible. Like, what am I going through right now? This position sucks.
Right.
But he's got to try to somehow survive it. And look at the move he's played. Rook to G1, an alternate defensive idea, which
goes for takes and takes.
But well, at least
Rook A4. Oh, Rook A4.
Rook A4, Rook G8. So that's the first step.
Okay.
But that seems artificial.
Yeah, and your rook is even loose on that square. So, there's Queen D4, and then we're threatening the rook on G1, and we're also threatening like knight A3 picking up a pawn because of rook A4.
Nice tactic, Jen.
Or even
Good
better,
point.
rook A4 straight off the bat, queen F4, knight D2, winning the queen.
I'm sorry,
That's what
Jen,
I really want. So after queen D4, you're probably going to be forced to play rook D1, right?
Yes, I agree.
I don't see any other option.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
No, but a knight A4 doesn't. I mean, knight A3 doesn't really land.
Yeah, that's
with
not really
effect
what we
in
want.
that position. That's not what we want.
Whoa, I love what Jen did. I love the queen D4 move. Because you mentioned the move B5, Maurice, but I didn't really like loosening up my king. But after the move queen E5, I'm still threatening rook A4, right? And if you play knight D3, then I've got the move I really wanted, which was queen B5, threatening knight A3 and the knight. That looks like
Okay, that's just knockout. That's
that's
a knockout.
Yes.
Let's not put that on the table.
By the way, I should point out that Fabiano is just in really big trouble against Hikaru Nakamura.
But we knew that. We knew that from before.
True. He's down the exchange.
And now it's evident.
Yeah, he's down the exchange and with an initiative Nakamura has an extra exchange and the initiative. So could be a very bloody round, guys.
As we would say, initiative and compensation. Oh, very, very, very big advantage there. Let's go back to the Wesley So game, guys, because my favorite has just played queen D4, the awesome move that you suggested, Jen. That, I mean, is an alternative to rook D1? I mean, I can give up the exchange, but that's just like, what? I don't have enough.
Yeah,
there.
I still have a very strong knight. I think you have to play rook D1.
I think rook D1's box. Do you see an alternative, Maurice, to after queen D4?
This just looks terrible.
And we do have rook D1, and we do have queen E5 instantly played, by the way, by Wesley. So again, the time control is 20 plus 10, right?
Yeah, so 10-second increment.
This is nasty. This is nasty. By the way, rook A4 got reintroduced. What about knight E3? Thanks for putting your rook on D1. I don't know if you mentioned that, yes, but
I didn't. But knight E3, you're right. That's
another threat showed up.
Yeah, a straight up fork. And by the way, the knight needs the defense of the queen at the moment. The queen is the only thing protecting the knight. So when you play knight E3, you're kicking the queen away from the protection of the knight because the B3 square is actually protected as well. So knight E3 is not just winning an exchange; it's winning a whole piece. It's just
you're saying you're winning everybody with this move,
everybody.
This monster knight E3 move. This is now we're seeing the true depth, by the way, of the move rook A8, which he played instantly, and now the rook has gone back
to G1. Oh boy,
I'm just feeling like
because of queen B5, right?
Oh, well, now there's rook G7 check at least, so that's why he played back
disrupting
one. Yeah, okay. And then you'd have to play. You couldn't go back as a rook G8, so you'd have to come up to A6.
No, then in that case, just play bishop F7.
Yeah, this is his only tactic.
Everything.
Get the bishop.
Just play bishop F7,
just
right?
Get the bishop off the square and.
Yeah, just get the bishop off of G8, threatening rook A4.
There you go. He's played it. He has played it.
Oh boy,
masterful chess right now. Bishop F7 and all the threats. Do you notice how the last several moves, White did a rook G1, a rook D1, and a rook back to G1, while Black did a queen to E5 and a bishop to F7. Said, right. I got free moves. What did you do in the meantime? What did you accomplish?
I got improvement moves and you didn't. Exactly. That was the whole point of that. And Black's initiative is just, well, it looks deadly. This looks really over. Magnus got himself into trouble somewhere and he has not gotten out of trouble. This is not the escape. that he had against Hikaru, by the way, where he really did save it nicely. Here, I just
this looks terrible.
Killing threats.
B5 is a threat. Queen B5 as well. That square everybody's jostling for is another threat. Knight to E3, winning the knight on A4 is a threat.
Massive threat.
There's so many. Rook. So we got B5 as a threat. Queen B5, knight E3, and also Rook A4 is another threat. That's four different threats in one position. How do you defend against all of them?
Yep. Four
beautiful threats. Game by Wesley. Look at this.
Absolutely artistic. You don't dominate Magnus like this.
Could be the best game we've seen in the tournament so far. Although, of course, there's a lot that we didn't get a chance to analyze in depth. But
no, I think you're right.
He's impressing. He's impressing us tremendously. Maybe one of Levon's victories today is equally as good, but this is
that's true. We didn't see the full Levon games, but we're going to be paying more attention to him now.
I think he's going to get some love. Speaking of love, let me just check in on Lanier Dominguez, Gary Kasparov. Holy smokes! There's a king on D6.
Maybe other moves as well, but that certainly is plenty enough.
Wow!
Resignation happened. So
after a long thing, Queen C3 blundering a piece.
Yep. I mean, there was just two. We said four different threats, and what to do? And he just played Queen C3, and that was it.
You know we're going to come back, and I'm going to quiz you about